For today's review, we are looking at the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice Armored Suit Batman. And let's just dive into it. Let's start, of course, by talking about the accessories that he does include. And he has only 2 accessories in the forms of interchangeable hands. Now, in the package by default, he does have both his item holding hands equipped to the figure. So this is for the left arm, and he has one for the right arm. This is meant for him to hold the Kryptonite Spear, which he does not include. The Platinum version of this figure does have the Kryptonite Spear, and the other option to get the Kryptonite Spear is if you drop $70 on that 2-pack that has Doomsday and Superman. So that's what these hands are for. Now, he also comes with the open gesture hand for the right arm, however you want to use this. And he also has one fist hand for the left arm. And this is something that I don't like whenever they do this. If you're going to give a figure a fist hand, you might as well give him, a pair of them. So one for the left and one for the right. The fact that he doesn't have one for the right arm, I think is stupid. Because the figure that we looked at last week, which was the gray suited version of the, bat suit that he wore when he wasn't wearing the armored suit, he has 2 pairs of fist hands, as well as 2 pairs of item holding hands. So, I don't know what happened here with this figure. I don't know why they do this sometimes. It's really strange. It feels like a repeat of what they did with the other armored Batman, which I will bring in for comparisons later in the video. Now, since he does have item holding hands, I do want to see if he can hold these 2 accessories that were included from the BvS Batman that we looked at last week. This one right here, right? So, of course, the grapple launcher and the batarang. So I do want to see if he can hold these 2 items, since he doesn't have any items of his own to hold. All right, with all that said, let's finally talk about the figure. So just by looking at this figure, I have to say, this is a very good release from Mcfarlane Toys. The paint and sculpt work of this figure is pretty good for a $25 figure. And if you needed a budgeted version of this exact armored suit Batman from this movie, this is probably the best one on the market. Because most of the other versions that they made are quite expensive, right? They're mostly import versions from the past. And if you've been trying to keep a budget on like how much you spend on certain figures, and you just want like a budgeted version of this, I say go with this one. Now, I don't know if this is still in stock anymore, because I was fortunate to finally get one from Amazon because they had it in stock again. This figure was like selling out like crazy, and I never seen it at the stores. So when I finally got the opportunity, I'm just happy that I finally got one. And I do not regret this. This figure is just a very good looking figure. And this is an example of what happens when Mcfarlane actually puts in their effort into making a figure come out good. Now, it does have flaws. It's not a perfect figure. Articulation, for example, is not the best in some areas. And, we'll talk more about that when we talk about articulation. Let's talk about the details and sculpting of this figure from, I guess, head to toe. And let's start, right away with that head sculpt. I think that's a pretty good head sculpt. Now, does it look like Ben Affleck? I don't know. Okay, like the likeness with Ben Affleck for some of these recent, like, Ben Affleck Batman figures have been kind of all over the place. Like, if you remember the one that came out with the Flash movie, that wasn't even Ben Affleck at all. That was supposed to be the stunt actor or something that played him in the movie. So, yeah, I think it might be some sort of rights issue to use his likeness. So I don't know if this looks like him. I mean, his mouth, right? You can't see his face, but there is that head sculpt. I do like the way they painted the eyes to make it look like it's glowing, because, when he's in the suit, his eyes are like lit up, right, in the movie. He does have a lot of these battle damage details, and you can see the wash that they did over this gray to make it look like it's metallic, as well as, like a 30 sort of look on it, because the suit has been beat up like crazy, right? And just all these details. And this is not even just printed. This is actually sculpted. Some companies would probably just print all these details on, but that's actual sculpting on the armor to make it look like battle damage, which is really cool. Up here for the shoulders, as you can see, also continues this battle damage design, and there's like this wash. It's sculpted as well. I love the sculpt details that are just present all over this figure with that battle damage. And then when you look at, his arms down here, I'm assuming this is like the cloth area of the suit, so it's not completely like armored out. And there's all this texture that's so beautiful to look at. And then when you get to like his gauntlets, it's the same thing. You got all this nice detailing. You got this nice sort of wash on it. You have the battle damage. It just continues from like up here to down here. And then when you get to his waist area and also his stomach region right here, you can see the same wash again. So the waist is right here where his belt is. You can see that sort of like, I don't know if it's a black wash or whatever they used, but you can see how it's supposed to mimic like dirt, right? Like it's just all covered in some sort of dust or something, because when he was fighting Superman in that building, they literally like fell down a couple floors in one of the scenes, if I remember correctly. So he's covered in dirt or whatever, all kinds of stuff. And then the scratch marks down here in the stomach region of his armor, it's also visible. And then the texturing of the underneath part of his cloth material that he's wearing of some kind. I don't know what he's wearing underneath the armor, but I love the texture. And then when you get to his legs, it's the same exact thing. It's just everywhere on this figure. And I really love that they kept the details, in on this figure everywhere. Like, that's just amazing. So I love that. And of course, he has his little fins here, whatever these are called, right, for his legs. And you can see battle damage there. You can see that also on the arms. So details are just so good on this figure. Like, they went crazy on this one. Because sometimes some figures that they put out, you can tell that nothing was really done to it at all. Like, it's just reusing the same body buck. And that's where I want to bring this up. This, I think, is a new body buck. I don't think I've ever seen this molding before for any of the other figures we've gotten before. I think this is literally the same. No, not the same. This is like actually brand new. Why am I saying it's the same? I don't think any of the parts on here are reused except for like, the internal, skeleton frame of like the joint system. I think most of it is new sculpt. Maybe the arms could be reused like from something, but I don't know from what. Maybe No, I don't even think it's a reuse from the Mr. Freeze from the, what was that wave? The Fighting the Frozen Page Puncher wave. I was thinking about the Mr. Freeze arms, but I don't think they're the same because these are definitely smaller than those arms. So I think it's all new sculpt. Yeah, I think it's all new. And then, man, even looking at this strap here, there's details on here, even if it's not painted, but like there's all this texture on there. They already painted a good amount of areas on this figure that for a $25 figure, again, this is amazing for 25 bucks. Some figures at this price point don't even look like this. So also I do want to show the feet as well. You can see the feet down here. There's also details as well. And even down here with the bottom, look at those spikes. And these are good references to something which I will bring in later because it comes in line with that other Batman figure that I do want to bring in for comparisons. But just overall, amazing. Now let's also talk about this cloth wire cape, because this cloth wire cape I think is also pretty cool too. So you can see how they created these like ripped up sort of effects down here to show that the cape is shredded. I love the fact that they did that. And just making this a cloth wire cape was a good decision on them. And, they've been using cloth wire capes for a good amount of figures now, and I just love seeing more of this. I don't know why some other companies don't use this more often, but for Mcfarlane, they've just been using it, for almost everything that they can right now, and I just love seeing more of this. Cloth wire capes are just awesome. So, cape is cool, sculpting is cool, the metallic paint is pretty good. I mean, you can probably touch this up even more if you are a customizer, but just as it is, for a $25 figure, I think this is pretty solid. Okay, now let's talk about certain things that, you know, are not so good about this figure. And of course, that comes to the articulation. So for his head sculpt, he's not going to really turn his head too much. Because of how this, you know, head is sculpted, you know, he's not going to turn too much, which is a problem. So if you want him to turn his head, that's bad. And that's something that you have to, you know, live with. But, you know, I can live with that. So his head's not going to turn too much. But the interesting thing about his neck joint is that his head can lean back a little bit. You can push it back or you can push it forward. So if you push it forward, you can get him to look up, which is very cool, because if you want to recreate that scene where he's like saying, "Do you bleed?" or something, right? You can have him look up. So at least he can look up when you do that. Now, when you push his head back, it's not going to look up because it's going to hit into the collar part of this armor neck area right here, you know, where his neck is. So not good. Now, can he look down? Yeah, he can. That's good. Now, when you lean his head forward, he can still look down. So looking down isn't really a problem with this figure. Looking up isn't a problem either. It's just turning his head is really the big problem with this figure that I'm not really a fan of. But, you know, at least his head does have a little bit of movement. As for his arms, he can lift them out. Now, they do get, you know, hindered by this shoulder armor piece, which is not on the arm. It's actually connected to the torso. So if you do push it out like this, yeah, this is not good. Now, can he go all the way back? He can, but again, this is in the way, and you can't really go all the way because this is going to hinder it. So, and also, if you're not careful, this could probably break off from the glue. So do keep that in mind. I wish the armor piece was on the arm, but I can understand why they did this because, you know, it is part of the suit. So, yep, arm articulation right there. Not so great. Now, for the articulation in the upper bicep, he does have it. Now, let me see which arm actually is allowed to move it. Oh, this arm is looser. So it does move, right, as you can see. He does have single jointed arms, which, you know, they're not bad. Like, I would have preferred double jointed, but, you know, they're single jointed. And there is a swivel. So you get a swivel down here and you get a swivel up here, which is actually a good combination. Better than just having swivel down here with no swivel up here. As for his hands, they do rotate. There is a articulation there in the ball joint. Let me see if it works. Nope. My copy is still too new. I think I need to heat that up, but it does work if you heat it up and loosen it. As for his torso, there's a lot of good range of movement up here with that torso. Like, that is really freaking good. Can he lean forward? Yeah, kinda. Not exactly the best, but he can still kind of lean forward. Now, if you use the waist part down here, it could probably help, right? But not the best. Can he lean back? Not exactly. But in terms of, you know, rotating it, it's pretty good. As for his, you know, stomach area, that waist joint down here, right, that moves, but it's like really freaking tight, but you can get it to move, which is cool. So I do like the fact that there is movement there. And I had to realign it because when this figure was in the packaging, he was like, I don't know. He was articulated in a weird way. I don't know what happens in the factory when they pack these figures, but it was really weird. So I was able to fix it. So, you know, that's a good thing. As for his legs, they do kick out. Okay. I mean, it's not too bad. It's better than some figures. But it does run into his, you know, waist piece up here, or the diaper piece, as we like to call this. So, not a good thing. Can he do the splits? He can. Not exactly a split, like a full split, but like he can spread his legs out pretty freaking good. So I do like seeing that. But if you do move it, you know, just kind of align it like this and then just make his legs kick out. So there's that. His upper thigh swivels do move, which is awesome because a lot of figures that they put out, some of them don't even have this movement at all. Like, it's just really bad. But this one does. So love seeing that. As for his legs down here, he does have double articulation, which is pretty good. So, You do have that. And then his feet, they do articulate, they do swivel, and he does have toe articulation. Really nice. And that is basically all the articulation on this figure. Now, before I do comparisons, I do want to see if I can put, some accessories in his hands. So I'm going to swap these hands. Actually, I'm going to only use one of them. The other one is actually kind of tight in there. I don't think I could take it off on this figure until I heat that up. Yeah, it was like really weird. When I was putting this hand in, it went in, and now if I'm trying to take it off, it's like tight in there. So let's start with the Batarang. I'm pretty sure he can hold the Batarang. I haven't tried this yet. No. Can he? Yeah, I guess, yeah, he can kind of hold it. There it is. I mean, not the best, but he can hold it. So there's that. As for the grapple launcher, there's a way to get him to hold it. I think I've done it before. Yeah, so you put it in like this, then you kind of like rotate it around. And there you go. Ooh, look at that. And then kind of push it down. Okay, he can hold the grapple launcher. That is good to see. I love the fact that he can hold it. So, if you want him to hold it like that, like he's about to fire it and climb somewhere else while he's being chased by Superman or something, you can do that as well. So, and I forgot to show the articulation on the cape, but it is cloth wired. I mean, if you want to consider that articulation, so there's that. It does move however you want to position it. Okay, time for comparisons. So, as you know, this suit is pretty much inspired from the Dark Knight Returns version of this Batman, because that's what the Ben Affleck Batman is very heavily influenced from. And let's bring in that figure that Mcfarlane made a long time ago. I would probably say like maybe 3 to 4 years now. I don't remember when this figure came out. So there's been a few versions of this, repainted over the years. And there was one version where he had the more comic, accurate head sculpt. I don't have that one. But as you can see, very different, right? But they're very similar. Just like how, he has his armor up here as the surface of his suit. He also has something underneath the armor. And you can see that present with this figure as well. And for his boots or shoes, the spikes are also visible. So, of course, this one has more spikes than this one. But, you can see the similarities. And this is where the other gripe I have with this figure is from. So, as I've said, he only has one fist hand for his left arm. That was the same problem with this figure when it came out. He only had one fist hand. I don't remember if he came with any hand gestures that he can swap with. I think he did. I got to look back at that. But yeah, he only has one fist hand. So, not great. But yeah, you can now see the difference between the two of them. And I think they really did, take a lot of inspiration from this, but made it cool looking for the movie because, it's live action. So you got to make it look cool. Now, this one to me looks more like the one that he wore in the animated movie that they did make for The Dark Knight Returns. It's kind of similar to that one, but just more, I guess, detailed up, if you want to put it that way. Now, in terms of similarities, as you can see, he does have the same sort of, the fin things with the legs, right? He has them on the arms. So there are some similar things going on here. The thicker helmet sort of thing that he's wearing, this one has it, this one has it. There's a collar area up here, same thing with this one. So yeah, there are similarities. All right, that's that comparison. Now, let's have them next to, of course, some other Ben Affleck Batman figures that I do have in my collection. And let's, of course, bring in the regular suited version that he wore before he put on the armor. And as you can see, the armor does make them taller, and they are completely different. Even the head sculpts are different. Even the entire suit is different. But nevertheless, this is very cool to see to complete this, right? And of course, here he is next to the Nightmare version that was also released in the same wave as this armored version. Yeah, pretty cool to see these two figures next to each other side by side. Pretty cool. And I know I have them zoomed in, but you can't really see them better that way. So, and now last but not least, here he is next to the battle armored kind of suit that he wore in Justice League, which isn't, you know, all heavy duty like this one, but they both are some sort of armor of some kind. So there he is next to that Batman. Pretty cool. So yeah, that is basically all the comparisons I'm going to do with this figure. As you can see, he does go well with the other Ben Affleck Batman figures, right? They don't look too bad next to each other, but they are wearing different costumes. And I'm very happy to have 4 different versions of them, right? So that's cool. Now, will this one go on the bike? I don't know if you want to put this figure on this bike. I mean, I haven't tried it, but like, I mean, you could if you want to. So that's another option right there. And yeah. All right. With that said, I hope you enjoyed today's look at this armored suit Batman from Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. If you found this review informative, do give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on here, you can. You don't have to. In the end of the day, I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care and I will see you in the next video.